that can still go back to secularity.
Okay.
So that's we start with them as the generators of waste. Then the collectors are basically the waste pickers, whether they are formal or informal. The informal ones we normally call them chokra in Kenya. But the whole idea of TakaTaka Animal is to be able to formalize the whole activity, that we can be able to bring them together, train them on how to be able to sort and separate, and for them to be able to even identify where they can be able to sell that waste as a resource to get into another income stream.
Yes. And I think also on this part of the informal part, when you talk about training, it's not just about sorting and separating.
Yeah.
There's also the aspect of, you see, because this is still waste,
Yeah.
when you're dealing with it, like, you need to be protected in terms of your health and safety.
Yeah.
So maybe you can talk about what it is we do on that.
Yeah, part of the whole capacity building also includes providing them with PPEs, gloves, masks, gumboots, reflector jackets, and at the same time, for them to be able to work, in a healthy manner. But besides that, on a monthly basis, we normally partner with guys in the health sector who normally come to check on their health, just to make sure that they are okay. Because that's part of the whole making sure that we are providing the health facility for them, access to health facility. Because remember, most of these waste pickers, the chokoras, don't have access to health facility. They don't go to hospitals, basically. And I mean, Dave, you've seen when you go to the ground, you find guys who we are doing capacity building, but you look at them, the way they are. They have other problems like gum, snorting gum and everything, which to us is a very big concern, because we believe that them being healthy also includes them being able to remove themselves out of those kind of activities.
Yeah, I think actually now that you mentioned this, it's more getting into how it is we have like some coaching and also awareness on mental health and such initiatives, because at the end of the day, when you get into some habits, it becomes very difficult to get out of them. And if you're talking about trying to improve your income, there's also a mindset part of it that needs to be changed. So maybe you can talk about what it is we envision in doing that aspect.
Importantly, I think it's good that you brought it up, because when we started interacting with them, you realize that their backgrounds, they come from very, very good backgrounds. Some of them have been working, some of them have been out of the country doing their trade, some of them have had families, but then getting to where they are now, they normally have mental issues at times. Just having that psychological support which can be able to help them realize their value in life. And to them, a low-hanging fruit is basically to be able to do the waste picking, so they can be able to sell it and go and take a little bit of alcohol or snort or whatever, and others will do a better thing. But then once you interact with them, you realize they're like you and me. You sit with them, you talk to them, you laugh with them, you find that they're very intelligent, but it is only the mental part that is a little bit disturbed. So the whole idea is that we involve guys who can be able to provide them that support. Just talk to them, to tell them that they're valuable in the society. We've been able to even have some waste pickers who eventually have gotten their own abodes, renting a house. They tell you that my skill, I'm good at, maybe I'm a beautician. And we take them through that process, that if you're able to do those trainings, besides just training them on sorting and separating, we can give them other skills which are artisanal in nature, whereby they can be able to even earn a living out of it. And that formalizes the whole thing. Besides that, it doesn't mean that, the whole idea of waste picking is not good. We've had collectors who initially were doing other trades. They've realized the entrepreneurial part of it, like Mama Mboga. She stops and starts trading on waste management, just getting the waste from the households, from the caretakers, from the waste pickers, sorting and separating, and then them selling out to the waste aggregator.
Okay, and actually, it's good that you mentioned that, because you see, even when you talk about as some people are going on this journey of trying to improve and grow themselves, it's always good to have like someone, when you see someone has actually done it, you know, someone has been successful in doing this, it gives you that motivation. Like it's sort of like an inspiration or a role model. So I think another aspect that we do is also we organize them into groups. And you'll have like a group leader, because even as we do this training, you'll find some of them do not read or maybe they don't understand English. So this training needs to be delivered in their own local language, or at least in a way that they can understand from people that they already know. So maybe you can talk a bit about these groups.
Yeah, it's true. Thanks for that. What normally happens is that you'll find the way speakers, they normally conglomerate together. They are supplying to one person called Dev, you know, West aggregator. So what we do is that once we're able to identify that aggregator, we identify who is taking waste to him. We organize them into groups. We even we bring government officials from the county level, the welfare officials, who will register them, you know, formally, to have a chairman, vice chairman, and treasurer and everything. And more often than not, we'll want an influencer, somebody who at least understands, has a knowledge on so that they can be able to now work with them. So once we organize them into groups, we've partnered with financial institutions who are even able to train them on financial education, because we believe that, you know, the amount of money they make is quite it's good money. And if they're able to learn to save, then they can be able to invest. First, it starts with saving. And to be able to save means that they have to, one, formally have an account with a commercial bank. So that's why we're partnering with commercial bank like KCB, so that these groups are able to open accounts for the CBO. And then from there, when they're taking now their waste to the aggregator, there's some money that is remitted to the account, and that money is able to help them save. We believe that, you know, we normally, when we're having a discussion with them, part of the training, we normally tell them that, you know, when you see people outside there buying plots or wherever, it's because they came together. You know, best example is Kitangela, where you find the border riders came together, they bought a plot and they even built houses. So the idea is, with the small amount of money they're saving every day, they can be able to save quite considerably, and eventually our vision is that they should be able to even get some asset in terms of land. Because you'll find that from our interaction, the waste speakers, some of them have kids. Their biggest worry is, how is my kid going to go to school? You know, where will I live, because I can't be a waste speaker throughout my life. So we tell them, you know, you should be able to save. Eventually, you should be able to buy an asset like land, which now you'll call it your home. And that gives somebody a sense of belonging and achievement.
Okay. I mean, it's interesting you mentioned, because there are actually some of these collectors who have grown to become these aggregators. You know, they started off being on the streets collecting, then they realized that there's a potential within a certain area, and ideally there's a gap in the market. That's where the entrepreneurship skills comes in. So now we're going into the next stage, from the households to the collectors to now the aggregators. Maybe you could talk a bit more about the aggregators and their role they play in our ecosystem.
The aggregators are the guys who will pick will buy the resource. Let's call it a resource, from the waste pickers. They are normally the first point where the waste pickers will take their waste, and they normally buy in cash. They are very important in the ecosystem because of the fact that they are able to provide a bridge between the recycler and the waste picker. And our biggest target is the waste aggregators, because the good thing with the aggregators is that they are able to aggregate, just by the name, aggregate waste from a particular locality. And we've had the waste pickers who've been able to basically learn their trade and open their own waste aggregation centers. They're basically collection centers. Somebody has a small kiosk or a big plot, depending on how they want to start. We even have the small aggregators who will buy waste from the waste pickers and sell it to a super aggregator who has the muscle. This super aggregator is somebody who will buys different waste streams: plastics, paper, balls, glass, PPEs and everything. And then you'll find the small aggregator is somebody who maybe is specializing, I only buy plastics. The other person will say, I only buy cartons. Because of they've identified that as a better way of making money out of it. So now, this aggregator, and that's where now we have now your role of the digital platform, which comes to be able to link now the aggregators to the household, so that at least they're able to identify, so that now the pickers are able to identify where the waste is, which will be taken to those aggregators. And the aggregators, some of them are just, buy, separate and sell it. Some of them bail it, they have bailers, and sell it to a super aggregator or a recycler. Some of them even have crushers. They have balers whereby they're able to crush the plastics and everything and glass and be able to sell it to a recycler. So one thing is that we have the aggregators. They've been there, but we've always never looked at it as because of the fact that most Kenyans don't look at it as a formal business, as entrepreneurial as it is. And at the moment, they're becoming very important, especially with the new waste management bill that was passed by the government. The bill emphasizes the idea of sorting and separating, and at the same time emphasizes on the idea of setting up the hubs, whereby this waste will be taken for further separation and be sold to the recyclers. The counties have a responsibility of setting up the material recovery facilities, but the entrepreneurial side of it would be enabling the aggregators become these private facilities that are recovering those material from the waste stream, which now can be further sold to the recycler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think now it shows, from the generators of the waste going back into the recyclers.
Yeah.
Actually completing that circular chain, so that it now goes from the recycler to the producers and then back again into the economy. So it's always like endless waste, an endless value chain.
Yeah.
That you consume, you generate waste, and that waste becomes a resource for someone else who also earn from it, and then now goes and sells this all the way back to the producers themselves, who will buy and then again sell it to the households. Yeah. And the good thing with the aggregators, one thing I would say is that most recyclers don't want to do the heavy lifting. And more often than not, the dump sites are there because of the fact that not enough stream material is able to go to the aggregators. So it's very important at the moment, if we were able to have the counties being able to encourage, to come up with activities that encourage setting up of these facilities and the aggregators, formalizing them, providing them with equipments, both PPEs, crushers, balers, so that at the end of the day, when those trucks are, carrying products to the dump site, they are diverted to go to the aggregators. So that these aggregators are going to pick the most valuable waste streams, which now will be taken to the recycler to be recycled back to production. So personally, I think that one way we can be able to reduce dump sites in the country, in all these towns, is to be able to come up with programs that are targeting the aggregators and really formalizing them, giving them both the entrepreneurial skills, at the same time being able to come up with activities that are able to provide them with resources to do with balers, shredders, crushers, all those, and at the same time be able to come up with activities that are able to encourage these waste pickers to formalize CBOs, for them to be able to pick waste directly from the household level and business level to be taken to the aggregator. If we do that, then we will have importantly reduced the level of waste that goes to the dump site, because at the moment it's an ISO, and you and me know that
there's no county that has an answer to that dam site. You know, they don't have an answer.
I mean, that's why we're here, you know.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, you know, that's why we're coming to now this conversation about what it is we do in this information hub that we launched last week on Thursday. So ideally, it's more of, you know, explaining this ecosystem and showcasing that we have done this and it's working in one county and how we can deploy this in different counties across Kenya. So it's really more of a solution that now comes into the part that you're talking about, like with the digital technologies that we use. We also provide a platform that you can monitor the performance of these ecosystem that we're developing all across different sectors, see how much waste is being generated, how much is being offset that could have gone to the dam site, to the environment. That of course is a big potential for like a lot of diseases, a lot of pollution, air and water pollution, especially right now during this rainy season, you know. There's a lot of waste that is being swept from, that has been dumped into the environment, going into waste streams, and then that into rivers and streams, and then that ends up in like oceans, and it's never really good, you know. It just becomes very catastrophic in the long run. So having systems to prevent it, you know, from the source becomes very essential, so that now we can at the same time and create employment, we can improve the environment, and we can also have a model that, you know, we're talking about climate change, like we need to reduce and minimize the effects that we are having on the climate, so that we can be able to stay on this earth longer and preserve it even for next generations to come. I agree with you totally. And even another important reason why we have the hub is we want to be able to provide the idea of sustainability even on a corporate level. We want the corporates to be able to come and basically you know, participate in ensuring that at least we're able to have more emphasis on waste management, at the same time to be able to have more emphasis on sustainability, because I mean, corporates are the guys who are creating the waste, okay, in terms of the products which the household eventually are able to consume, and businesses. But at the same time, there is an emphasis at the moment globally, of which Kenya were included, on being able to show that we are doing something sustainable for our entrepreneurial activity. That's where also the idea of environment comes in, and that's where now waste management comes in. And one thing I know is that it's imperative at the moment for when companies are doing their reporting, they should be able to even have sustainable reporting, to be able to show what they're doing for the environment, besides the social and economic side. So besides the fact that, you know, you're making X profits, you have to show that yes, I'm assisting, I'm doing something sustainable. So how can that be? One, it can be in the form of especially the suppliers in their value chain. You know, the small SMEs that are there, who are basically the contractors and suppliers and everything, and who they do business with. Are they able to encourage them to provide sustainability reporting as a precondition to be able to work with them? And even for the corporate to be able to show that yes, we are helping the environment, the society come up with sustainable activities. So that's why we have the information hub. If we want to be able to partner with the corporates, one, to be able to target them, help them to be able to do sustainability reporting, especially the SMEs, because you find that while the SMEs are small, I mean, they don't have a sustainability manager or a director or somebody who's got that. I mean, for them, you know, they're starting out as businesses.
They're starting out as businesses, and yet there are these small businesses which are targeting the corporate world. Is it? It's important for them to, if you tell them to come up to what is ESG, you know, how can you? Do you have a? I mean, what are you doing to do with sustainability? They have no idea. You know,
the first question is, what is ESG?
What is ESG? You know, sustainability. How will I report it? You know, what will I say? So that's why we've partnered. We have partners who provided us with tools that we can be able to target now those SMEs with programs that provide them capacity to one, understand ESG, 2, to come up with sustainability reports.
Okay, and even so, actually, now we're getting into the training curriculum that we have already developed.
Yeah.
You see, because there's levels that you need to understand so that you can actually be able to do like a sustainability report and showcase what it is you do in regards to ESG. So maybe you can tell us more about this training curriculum and also what ESG is.
Yeah. What I would say is that the whole idea of ESG, just as it starts, environment, social, and governance, is about sustainability. That's one. And it's at the moment there is a global requirement for reporting that every company has to have a sustainability reporting in terms of ESG. You have to show how you're contributing towards environmental in the environment. How are you sustaining the environment? 2, in terms of governance. In terms of you employing guys, who you're working with. In terms of the rules and regulations, in terms of how much you're paying them, the working conditions and all that. That's the part of the governance. And the economic side is in terms of the employment opportunities and all that. It's important for you to be able to show it. And there are tools that are there. At the moment, because of the fact that most of this funding from the multinationals, I just like the IFCs and all that, the ADBs, are normally taken to the commercial banks for onward transmission to particular programs like SME fund. They will always insist that these SMEs need to be able, besides the business plan that we provide and the reporting, you need to be able to have a sustainability report. So this sustainability report talks about the ESG, and it will be a norm. Okay, so that's why as TakaTaka we are coming in, so that at least we're able to prepare these SMEs in this journey, so that at least early enough they can be able to start having those preparations when they want to be able to get financial resources. 2, when you're doing the annual reporting, for them to be able to show sustainability. Yeah.
And even for SMEs, it's good to be early adopters, because ideally you become you stand out from the crowd, you are already demonstrating ESG and sustainability compliance. So aside from what everyone is doing in terms of a business plan, you're showcasing how your business plan is in line with sustainability towards the environment, towards the people, even in humanitarian levels, because at the end of the day, it's environmental, social, and governance in regard to how it is your company operates, what are the policies, and how do you apply sustainability towards them. So, but there's always, as you're mentioning, there's that lack of resource that SMEs have to actually reach this. But at the same time, there's that need that the corporates who may have the resources, they need to showcase what it is that they're doing, not just as themselves, even going towards like second degree, third degree, like the suppliers. So they're able to also offer these, if they have a way to offer this training to these SMEs that we can reach and sort of put them into groups and say, like, for example, this is where we would come in. Like, we would come in as Taka as the people who would interact with these SMEs on behalf of these corporates, so that they can be able to achieve what it is that they like. And you'll have some of them are more customized towards the company, because some companies have specific ESG requirements, and even when we're developing this training, so it's very tailor-made, so that it's actually suitable to match what it is both parties would like to achieve. So you can maybe talk about some of the programs, or rather modules, that we have within the curriculum as we do this training.
Okay, and thanks for that. As you've said, it is not a one-size-fits-all kind of training for everybody, because they have different audiences, they have different critical consumers. So we have different level of training. There's training that are targeted towards the board, for corporates. At the same time, there are trainings that are targeted towards the managers. At the same time, there are trainings that are targeted towards the staff. And if I can be able to look at it, because I'd already carried it over here, you'll find that, and especially towards the SMEs, we have For SMEs, we have trainings for circularity, circular economy, and ESG. For the managers, for the board, for the managers, we have trainings to green transition and sustainability finance, and especially towards the board and the managers. At the same time, we have trainings to do with diversity, social inclusion, and gender equality, because that's part of the ESG. At the same time, we have training to do with the corporate sustainability and finance. More importantly, we have trainings which are targeted at sustainable supply chain. And besides the training, which I would want to bring out, is that training normally leads to training in itself is not an end. Training is part of the process, because part of the process is if we are training you on circularity, the process is that we need to be able to change your business model to infuse circularity, and ESG. Meaning that now there is that part of coming up with a component of consultancy, whereby we are able to work with you through the journey for around 6 months, whereby we look at your business model, we split it, we infuse the idea of circularity in it to come up with a new business model. Then after that, we give you time as a company to be able to go out there and test it. Then once you test it, while we're there, working with you through the journey, then we come and refine it further to be able to ensure that eventually you're applying it. And then there are tools for that we've already developed. At the same time, when it comes to ESG, we also have tools through our partnership that we were able to be providing the tools that we are able, to be able to train an SME on how to be able to apply ESG to their business model, and even to their reporting. And then after that, we take them through a process of testing it. After testing it for a period of time of around 2 to 3 months, we come and refine it with you through a workshop, and then from there you're able to work with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, now that you mention it, we, of course, being since the COVID pandemic, it's presented a means that aside from just doing physical trainings, we also do hybrid trainings where we combine a mix of physical and virtual.
Yeah.
So maybe let's say, for example, in a day or even in a week, can you explain how a training would actually look like?
Okay, you've brought it up. As you said, we have a hybrid training. There is a learning management system that TakaTaka has already set up, whereby Dev, who works for a company called Antea, wants to be able to learn about ESG, because that's a requirement. You've been told you want to learn about it. So the idea is that you should be able to go to a platform in the learning management system for Takanimali. One, you register for your course. Once you register for the course, it provides you a particular period of time to be able to do the course, a week or two. Because we believe that people are busy. Having a 4-hour training will give you a week to be able to do it works well with you. You're able to tap into the learning management system. We have PowerPoint presentations, we have videos, we've already taken. We have presentations that are there that will give you the learning materials to be able to learn about it. Then once you finish and you do a case study, out of the online platform, then you're able to be provided with a certificate of participation. Besides that, we have now the one-on-one, because we believe that there are times one-on-one works, especially when you're working to change a model, you're working to change behavior, when you're working towards an interaction between the learner and the participant. So we also, in our hub, we have a learning center whereby participants come and learn about it. There's that one-on-one coaching and mentoring and training for us to be able to understand how your organization is and where you're going to. So that's how we do it. Besides that, there are tailor-made courses for particular companies in particular sectors. We have to do a need assessment, especially if you are looking for a training for a group of staff or managers or board members for your organization. We'll do a need assessment to be able to understand what you really require. Then from there, we're able to develop the training module. And then now we'll do the online training with the participants.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, thank you for that. I think it gives that impression that aside from when you talk about the ecosystem, there is the aspect of actually dealing with the waste.
Yeah.
So that it goes back into the circular economy. But then there's that aspect of infusing this within not just the CBOs and the groups. There's also the businesses. Making sure that it's actually part and parcel of their daily operations, so that we can minimize the amount of waste. And if you do generate waste, what policies do you have, what systems, what measures do you have to ensure that it doesn't go back to the environment, but rather it goes into this circular economy model that we're talking about.
And that's very important. And just to reiterate that, and especially for the SMEs existing in Kenya, because of the fact that we are not just dealing with our local economy, we also have exporters. At the moment, the critical consumers will want to find out, what are you doing towards the environment, social and governance, and that's where we come in. That we're able to provide that story. We prepare you to be able to provide that story to the consumer, for them to be able to interact with you in terms of your product or service. And it's important because we believe that there's a very big gap in that. We don't have a particular organization that are targeting, a small organization, SME, CBOs, and everything. And you can see that's the whole value chain, to be able to basically provide them with knowledge, skills, and practicality on how to be able to be sustainable.
Okay. So also, I think it's worth mentioning that we've talked about different types of waste with the CBOs, but then when you go into more businesses and trying to infuse this, there is, what people normally do in their everyday that they don't realize that there is waste, Even in terms of printing so much paper, you have a lot of them that goes into bins. So having a way to actually dispose safely, or rather recycle, because you'll have a lot of documents being developed, and then some being shredded, and how it's going back into the circular economy, maybe used to make other products, or even like book covers or something. So which comes back to the event that we had on Thursday. We were also showcasing some of the people that we work with, and what it is that they do, and how is it that, to give the impression, like when you generate this waste, instead of it piling up in a landfill, it can actually be a very important resource to another person who can upcycle it and sell it to these people, these everyday consumers. So, and when you talk about upcycling now, it's an interesting thing because it's something that applies to both the CBOs and also SMEs, because SMEs can develop businesses and start a whole company based on upcycling, and CBOs, even in their groups, they can use it as a means to generate new income, because you give the example of the lady who is into making some beauty, like bracelets and so on. So maybe we can talk about like some initiatives that we worked with, especially on the CBOs, and also the examples that we're able to showcase here during the event on the upcycling.
Yeah, I'll pick one example. Like we are forming a partnership with Kalo, whereby they have a waste stream, which is paper, and where we're coming in is to be able to tell them that this paper, besides shredding, we can be able to link a CBO or form a CBO with them, and we can. There are two ways. Either these waste can be upcycled to be able to now make other things, like beers and everything. Or besides that, we can be able to link them to a recycler, example like Chandaria, who will be able to buy that for money, value. And that money will percolate back to the CBOs. One, it will have created employment. It is giving it is providing income to the CBOs. Two, there's money that is going towards corporate social responsibility. That's now reports towards sustainability.
Yes.
That's very important. Besides that, we have partnership with companies that are upcycling, especially paper. It can be upcycled to be able to make the guy. What did he have? The post and everything. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, and that one. What does that mean? It means that it becomes something valuable, of which now the entrepreneur is able to earn from it. Which I think, to me, it's very important. We can't be having butcheries all over us and shops. If like remember Rari, what he was saying. It is such a huge market. If guys could be able to identify the entrepreneurial side of it, then we can have so many women and youth being able to benefit from it, through the CBOs or through themselves as entrepreneurs, coming up with equipments that can be able to upcycle, make the beads. You remember the ladies from the prison who are making the mats and everything. Very nice products, from the baggers, the kakas from cloth making and everything, which becomes mat and being sold for a premium.
Yeah.
And that already it's an income activity for it. And besides that, we also work with aggregators, TakaTaka Solution, Mr. Green, Vince, because they are very important in the West Stream, because at the end of the day they develop resources that are used to make other products for upcycling. And that's why we normally link these CBOs who can be able to work with them to be able to earn a living out of it. Yeah.
Okay. And so thank you so much for your time, Michael.
Yeah.
I think that really takes home the phrase that TakaTaka ni mali, waste is wealth. Showing how it started off being considered as waste, and then actually transitions back to the circular economy as wealth, and showcasing that it's actually a mindset change, not just in individuals but even in organizations, that they need to change the way they work, so that it translates to no longer seeing what they produce as waste, but more as a resource, or more as wealth, that they can be able to actually make the life of someone else better, or even showcase that, reduce the amount of waste that they generate, and actually be able to convert that into different revenue streams. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us for this discussion. But I think there's a question that is here, so maybe we can just take one question from some of the people. Let's see.
I wish it would be beautiful.
Yeah, so we have a few discussions that they wish they could get the opportunity to be trained. They have a CBO in Nakuru at Gyoto dumping site that deal with such waste. What is that they lack is training. So it's great to know that we are having viewers from Nakuru. So maybe, Michael, actually, I think this question is directed to you. How it is that we can be able to approach such CBOs. Because right now we are operating in Kajiado, so it becomes more of a call to action that we can be able to reach
them. I agree. In fact, Nakuru is interesting because Nakuru, that's where we did our first the launch of the curriculum last year with the county and Petco. And the good thing is that we already have an MOU with Petco. We are supposed to go back to Nakuru to be able to target the CBOs and do training with them. So it's just a matter of time. Just tell them it's just a matter of time. They can go through our website, get our email, and just shoot us an email so that when we are going down to Nakuru, we can link with them and take them through the training program.
Okay. I think that's great. I hope that has answered your question. So once again, I'd like to thank you all for your time and being with us in this session. And I'd like to emphasize again that even as we go through our day-to-day lives, we need to realize that waste is wealth and TakaTaka ni mali. Thank you.
waste is wealth.